Welcome back to another episode. Today we are going to talk about Murphy's Law, mastering the unknown. And the unknown can be very scary for a lot of people, a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. I have friends who are talking to me about how they don't know what the economy is going to be like the job. They don't necessarily know how they're going to be able to pay their bills. They're over exaggerating because everything works out well in the end. And if it's not the end, well, or if it hasn't worked out well, then it's not the end yet. But yeah, everything works out in the end. And mastering the unknown can be really hard for some people, especially when they're dealing with a lot of anxiety. If someone's scared of the unknown, that just tells me they're anxious. They're unsure about what's going to happen. And that's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, I believe, is Murphy's Law. And so we need to talk about how we can prep for that. And it definitely translates into a lot of different philosophies across the spectrum. We're going to focus on health and fitness because we are a health and fitness podcast. Now, oh, no, we're good. We're good. I thought it stopped recording for a half second. Okay, so fitness is a great metaphor for life, right? If you don't get stronger without resistance, then it's really hard to get stronger. So you do need some level of resistance to become stronger, and that preps you for the real world. There's a reason why we strength train. We're preparing our bodies, our minds for what's out there. And so the gym teaches you to embrace discomfort, push through tough setbacks, show up on days that you don't feel like showing up, and there's always great non-negotiables that you can come up with. I think one that everybody can come up with is like 10 minutes of movement every day. What is that? Deliberate movement, not just walking, but it could be a brisk walk. And I'd count that. Maybe it's mobility, but working out and staying consistent with it is going to be really, really important. Fitness isn't necessarily just about the body, it's also about the mind. When you train daily, you set the standard for yourself and you prove to yourself that you can do things that are hard. And I think that's really, really important. Of course, you have to have self-compassion that not every day is going to be perfect, and that's okay. You keep showing up, keep building momentum, and things go wrong. You sleep in for your workout. This happened to me Sunday where I got a little lazy and I focused a bit more on the podcast, played a couple video games. I'm like, I'll go to the gym at like 2:00. I walk to the gym. I'm on phone call with my brother and I got distracted. So I spent a little bit more time on the phone. I didn't feel like going into the gym just yet. Get to the gym at 2:30. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're closing at 3. I didn't know that. Makes sense. It's a Sunday. Not all gyms stay super open late on a Sunday. I'm like, fuck. Okay, I only have a half hour. What am I going to do? And so I just made the most out of it in that half hour, minimal screen time because I can get distracted on my phone. And within a half hour, I got like 4 good exercises in, got a good pump. I'm like, it was fine. I made the most out of the situation. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong while I'm on this trip. You know, there's sometimes unexpected expenses. It could just be an Uber ride. Like you don't realize that, the airport's an hour away from my Airbnb. Okay, I have to take a bus, but the bus is going to be 2.5 hours. Fuck. Okay, it's also, I have a bunch of luggage. I don't want to get lost. I guess I'm going to have to Uber. And so you kind of just roll with the punches. And so it's very important to be prepared. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Be prepared for any challenge that can happen. Again, you don't have as much time for the gym session that you thought. Well, you can be prepared for that by making modifications to your workout, right? I'm okay with shortening the rest times by maybe 20%, and maybe you do one less set per exercise and you just kind of go for a good pump. That would be okay. That's a tactical flexibility. That's the idea, right? Have a plan, but be ready to adapt to that plan when it doesn't go to plan. I know I'm saying plan on a lot, but you do need to have a plan, but you need to adjust the plan. Again, anything can go wrong. Many times in my workout sessions with clients, I have them for a half hour to 45 minutes. They're late by 5 minutes, right? For a half-hour workout, that's 1/6 the time that just disappears. And so now I have to adjust to that. Well, we're probably just not going to do bicep curls that day. It's not the end of the world. Or sometimes this is with a couple of my IT clients. I'm working them out, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit, I have an email," or someone just shot me a message because it's like 2:30 on a Tuesday, and so they're supposed to be working, but they take a half-hour break to get their workout in. And sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes. I'm still getting charged, but now I have to adjust that workout. Many, many times I've had to adjust that for that person. So history shows us that certain military strategists follow along those lines. Athletes do the same. Entrepreneurs as well, right? It's very important that you roll with the punches. I think I want to say that's a athlete from boxing. I want to say Muhammad Ali, but I could be wrong. But yeah, just rolling with that punches. And so, where's one area in your life where you can be better prepared? Let's think of health and fitness. It could be meal prepped, that's being prepared. Could have a gym workout, that's being prepared. Gym equipment, right? Having a program, having a plan, having a coach, right? But it could also be when can you have a slight change of plan. So for example, my clients that do programming with me, I have these check-in calls every week. Hey, how did this week go? Oh, okay, cool. That's a problem that I would have done X, Y, and Z. So if that comes up next time, you can follow along with that. One example is one of my clients. She's like, "Oh yeah, when I'm doing leg raises, my inner knee kind of hurts." I'm like, "What? It's not a knee exercise. It's her groin." And that would make some sense. Okay, cool. Uh, well, if that happens again, do this exercise. But is this the first time that's happened? No, it happened last week. Oh, and you just didn't tell me? No, I forgot. All right, cool. So now I just need to change the plan. But if that still happens, this is what I want you to do. Don't work through pain. Instead, adjust to a similar core exercise that you know doesn't hurt your knee, and then we'll reassess. Right? It's not about being perfect. Being prepared is not about being perfect. It's about setting yourself up for success. And usually you do that the day before, the week before, and your daily habits are preparing for the unknown. Again, going back to the economy with a couple of my friends, it's strange. My one friend, he makes pretty good money. And he's like, "Yeah, my whole team just got laid off. It's now just me and a couple other people. If I get laid off, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills." I'm like, "Dude, you've made really good money for the last like 4 or 5 years. How are you not prepared for that situation?" And then when I think about it, oh yeah, okay, he kind of lives outside his means a little bit. He spends a little extra money where he shouldn't. Not that that's a bad thing, but you do have to have a contingency plan. It's not like I make copious amounts of money, but my burn rate can be extremely low. And I have some fortunate advantages to do that, but I have other friends that if they lost their job, they're not prepared. I would never lose my job. I've lost clients, of course, because of the economy, where clients lose a little bit of their income, they get cut back hours, they lose their job. Of course, they're not going to be able to afford me. Out of 20 clients, if I lose 10%, that's two. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Versus, I will never just lose all my clients overnight, is what I'm trying to get at. So, weirdly enough, it's very diverse. That being said, it's harder to get it back up, but it's also harder for it to take down. So, it's a weirdly safer approach. I obviously wish I had more clients. If you know somebody, shoot my way. But in reality, it is a good way to be prepared, right? I have a wide range of skills that I can always. There's one client that I do meal prep for once a month. I also did other things for them. Whereas I'm like, hey, like I'm a little bit more free this week or this month. Is there anything that you would want done? Oh yeah, I can do this, this, and this. And I have a couple other clients who've asked me to do meal prep for them too. So there's always something that I can do, and that's just being prepared, right? Focus on these small wins, lay one brick at a time, but also think about what those laying of the bricks is going to do. It's going to protect you from the elements, right? There's a book, or not even a book, it's like a comic, and it's this, I want to say it's like a wolf or a pig or something, and he has a house, and at night when it rains, there's a hole in the roof where he sleeps. And he doesn't want to go outside because it's raining, but then the inside gets wet. So then he goes up during the daytime when it's dry. And he's like, well, it's not leaking anymore. I guess there's no problem to be fixed. And maybe I'm not doing the best job illustrating it, but it's a funny comic to show that that's human nature a lot. We have this problem, and even when it is a problem, it doesn't show up as a problem, and we're like, we don't need to fix it. Think of your health for a second. Do you know what's going on the inside of your heart, your brain, your lung, your cellular health? I'm guilty of that too. I don't always eat the best food, and that's one thing I do need to work on. And so that's a problem. I should be preparing myself for the future by eating better foods now. It's as simple as that, right? Whether it's financial, health, those are two big pillars that most people should be more prepared on. Sometimes for finances, they do a good job, not always for health. So failure isn't the opposite of success. That's another aspect I want you to think about. It's a part of the process. And so why am I bringing that up? When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? And prepare for that better next time. I think it's in jiu-jitsu, they say you either win or you learn. There's no losing. And I look a lot of my life as its experiments. The last 4 years, I've been experimenting with the digital nomad, and I've learned a lot from it. If Canada ever went to shit, where, let's say it's like the 1920s depression, I feel like I would be pretty prepared that I could do some manual labor, I could do some health consulting, I could do some meal prep, I have an entrepreneurial bone, I've trained my brain to see things from a different perspective, I could go to another country and work or just travel and have a low burn rate. Not that that's going to happen, but you never know. The people it wasn't the 1920s, it was the 1930s depression. People in the 1920s didn't think there was going to be a depression, and they weren't prepared for it. And the people who were prepared actually survived and thrived through the depression, and people who weren't really suffered. And again, the economy is not great right now. A lot of people don't want to admit that. We have lots of material goods. We're still going to be living better than kings from hundreds of years ago, but we always want more. And so it's very important that you're being prepared. Yes, it is financial, but I would argue health is even more important. If you have good health, you can use that to make money. If you have poor health, you're going to lose all your money. Just keep that in mind. So again, next time you have a setback, write down a couple things that you learned from it and use those lessons to move forward, to come forward. You don't have to write it down, but reflect and think about it, right? Failure is just feedback, right? Again, that client who has that little bit of knee pain with a leg raise, hey, that's just feedback. It's not the end of the world. It's a small detour. Let's adjust and work around it. And that's where self-awareness is really important. When you fail, don't beat yourself up. Everybody fails. There's a couple of games I play, and when I have a small mistake, I'm like, fuck, and I just reset it rather than working through the failure. I don't know why. I just do it. But reflect, adjust, and keep going. Asking yourself, what's one thing I can do differently next time? What's one thing I didn't think about? Progress, 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 not necessarily perfection. Again, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And there's going to be blind spots that you don't even see. What's really cool is, obviously, in the age of AI, if you give it unfiltered access to your brain by just splurting out ideas, it's not going to judge you. Hey, what are my blind spots? And it can actually give you a decent amount of blind spots. It's not going to be perfect, but that's also devil's advocate. I love to play devil's advocate with clients, potential clients, family, friends. Really like devil's advocate. I appreciate others who play devil's advocate because it does make you think about perspectives that you didn't always think about. And everybody's going to have blind spots. And so again, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Your mindset determines how you respond to these challenges because, again, it's an unknown challenge and you need to conquer it. You need to be prepared for what's unpreparable. That's another aspect to think about it. Nobody's preparing for things that they didn't see coming because you didn't see it coming. And so you have to be present in the moment now and prepare yourself and equip yourself with the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, the wisdom to deal with whatever comes. And if there's a situation where you don't know how to deal with it, maybe you have a network of people who can then guide you through how to do it. I think that's one of the best things about some of my guy friends. Shout out to Chris, Robbie, and Deepak, and Varun, Eric, Taylor. There's a lot of those guys that I know they've gone through their own problems, that when I have a problem that I'm not sure how to deal with, I can just shoot them a message. And they're all unique in their own little ways. These are all compliments. Deepak always knows a guy. So Deepak's like the guy. He knows everybody. Hey, do you got a mechanic? Because maybe my car broke down and I need it fixed quick, and I don't trust a regular mechanic. He'd be like, yeah, sure, I got you. I've had to do that before. Chris and Rob, a little bit more towards the renovation side of things. Varun towards kind of government taxes and businesses. Eric, health and business. Taylor also very unique with his business approach, entrepreneurship. And so I think that's a great circle of guys that I have that I can ask them questions. Forgot to mention Wes. Wes is kind of a little bit of everything too, along those lines. And they all have a good amount of wisdom. Another buddy, Ryan, who's a little bit older, that he's great with the financial side of things. And he's one of the few friends I have that's like 10 years older. And so he has a family, wife, kids. And so I can ask him about those life things too. And so again, when I have these problems, I can always ask him, especially when I'm not prepared for it. It's like, hey, how would you prepare for this? And I think that's having a great conversation. That's where stuff like this podcast hopefully is getting you to think about that aspect as well. Now, again, be present with where you're at right now and equip yourself with whatever you need to handle that's going to come your way. Fitness is a great analogy for that. I'm on the airplane and there's a woman that can't even take her luggage up the stairs onto the airplane. It was not a normal way to get onto the airplane. You had to go outside and walk up. She can't carry her luggage. She's not prepared for something that could go wrong like that. I was going to offer to help. I don't speak the language. And one of the flight attendants probably is going to do it instead. And I was like, I'll let them do that. But that's not being prepared. And she wasn't that old. She was probably in her 60s. I think that's something super simple that we don't always think about. Obviously, strength doesn't have to get used a ton in everyday life, but there's been so many times that my dad, hey, my back's sore, can you come over and help me move something? Dad, and this isn't in his 50s at the time. Now he's in his early 60s, but still, you could have been prepared better for that. I'm obviously going to come help you, but you don't want to be self-reliant on other people. And health is really important with that too. Yes, everybody gets sick, but you can hopefully get less sick, less often, less bad if you're better physically fit. I got really sick back this was a bad flu season for me. I had 2 bad colds. One was mild, one was pretty bad. And I can't imagine how it would have been if I was not healthy. And then it got me thinking, I probably talked about it on the podcast, about my stepmom, where, yeah, that she had an infection. That's totally going to happen when she had to get something removed from her colon. I want to say it was small cancerous tumor, but I don't think it was anything too crazy. But then like 6, 7, 8 weeks, it was really bad health. Again, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Not blaming her. She doesn't necessarily take care of her health the best way. And if she's listening to this, she can say that. But she knows that that's probably true. She probably takes better care of her health now after that health scare. Maybe eating healthier foods and stuff like that. But my dad wants to start a fitness routine. He's starting to notice that it's hard for him to do the things that he should do because of his mobility. And hopefully his wife joins during COVID, like 4 years ago. I think I did 1 session with them and she didn't like it. And it was literally just mobility. Something about it just overwhelmed her. So she's not ready. She's not ready. But it is important to be prepared for that aging process. Now, again, your mindset. Training your mindset, just like any part of your body, you can give it gratitude. What are you grateful for right now? And shift it away from abundancy. Write down a couple things that you're grateful for. But even in this moment when something went wrong, you can still always be grateful for something. And then let's think of some solutions and think about how this won't necessarily have to happen next time. Again, fitness is a foundation. It builds mental and physical strength to face life's challenges. So what's one thing you can do about your strength for your foundation this week? Is it a good workout? Is it a healthy meal? Is it a good night's sleep? Last night was one of my best sleeps here. And that's one thing that I'm really enjoying on my travels is I'm really am prioritizing sleep. Some people might say, oh, you're not going out and enjoying the nightlife. I don't really enjoy the nightlife anymore. I'm 31. I don't want to go out and drink heaviest. There's a quote, drinking is borrowing tomorrow's happiness. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see that. Strategy is a great shield. It helps you anticipate and adapt for the unknown. What's one area of your life you can be a bit more strategic about, right? Just strategy, thinking two plans ahead, three plans ahead. Is it financial? Is it career? Is it relationship? Is it your health, right? And start planning and start thinking things through, right? Your mindset's going to be your compass. It guides you through uncertainty. It helps you find meaning in chaos, right? What's a mind shift thing that you can do today? Mindset shift. Reframe failure or practice gratitude, right? And everything's connected. Your mind, your body, your soul. Prepare strategically and build confidence. When you cultivate the right mindset, you're ready for anything. One small step you can take today to align your fitness, your health, strategy, financial, philosophy, and mindset all together. Okay, a couple quotes that I want you to have as a takeaway. Chaos is not the enemy, it's a catalyst. Usually chaos is a great way to start with growth, and growth happens when you get outside your comfort zone and you need to embrace the uncertainty. You do not need to do this alone. You're listening to a podcast. That alone builds a sense of community. You're not the only one listening to this podcast. Leave comments, please. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and hold you accountable. Master the unknown, and it isn't always about quick fixes. It's the long game. The long game is what you need to think about. Yes, if you're 80, you don't have much of a long game left. Even my mom, she's dealing with a knee problem. And we had a good chat about it a couple times, and I probably mentioned it. Mom, you've got 30 years until you're 90. Hopefully you make it to 90. I know you want to get to that point. So you still have a long game to think about. It's not always these short, quick fixes. She's 62, going to be 63. Yeah, she hates when I get her age wrong. You have 25, 30 years, hopefully. And so there's still a long game to think about, even though you're retired. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is almost always it's the long game. Yes, her dad doesn't have the long game. If he wants to enjoy a beer, he can enjoy a beer. But even alcohol at age 60 will affect you into your 80s and 90s. You're 90, you can have a beer. Fuck it. So there is that aspect of it too. We've all been there, stuck, overwhelmed, unprepared, but you're stronger than you think. And when you're underprepared, then you just realize that you should be more prepared next time, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Again, that's Murphy's Law. You don't have to figure it out all at once, but you know what's a really good base? It's hedging your bets, taking care of your health, having a good nest egg, and having a good mindset, having a good sense of community. Those are all things that's going to hedge your bets for anything that can happen in the future. Why? I don't know, you have a kid, you had good health going into it, good luck. For the first 2 years, you're not sleeping the greatest. I think they say new parents, on average, first 2 years of having a kid, they lose out on 6 months of sleep. Like, just no sleep. That's only 2 hours a day. And so, yeah, going into having a kid with great health is a great way to hedge your bet. Same thing financially. You're not going to be working as much, right? Same thing with a sense of community, because you're not going to be able to go out and meet new people and have those connections, but having those strong connections is going to help you in that situation. Same thing with your health. Having good health now will hedge your bets for poor health later, but same thing with a bit of financial background. Same thing if you lose a job, right? When you lose your job, now you don't have the finances, and if you're in poor health, it's probably going to get worse. If you're in good health, you can afford some nights of bad sleep. You can afford not necessarily always eating the highest quality of foods. So those are all great things to hedge your bets for anything that can go wrong in the future. In this time of uncertainty, you want to hedge your bets. Again, have the pillars of great health, great community, some financial stabilization, live within your means, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. That is today's episode. Until next time.